What's up, everybody, and welcome to the FPL WildCats Live. Thank you so much for joining us. And before I pass over to Nim to deal with the introductions, first of all, please do hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And also, it's a pleasure to be back. It feels like it's been far too long. Thank you for all the well wishes for my daughter, the reason we missed the last stream. She is okay now. She's back home. Everything is fine. And take it away, Nim.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Welcome everyone to the stream. As you can see, we have another fabulous guest with us this week. Sam is one half of the husband and wife duo that is FPL Family. And Sam's currently kicking butts and taking names, flying high in the top 1K. But I'll let her tell you all about that in just a mo. So welcome, Sam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You?
Yeah, good. And what did you do at Leeds tonight?
Well, I'm hoping he's in the live chat for everyone to talk to. He's been evicted.
Oh, okay. Brill. Well, welcome back. Thank you for coming on. I know you're a long-standing friend of the Wildcats, so thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
So, would you like to kick us off with how you got on in Gameweek 25? I have a feeling this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's surprisingly, actually, I was just saying to you guys before we came on that I was really worried about this game week. I just did not fancy them at all. They did not look like they had the fixtures to do really well. But I really wanted 2 transfers going into 26. So I kind of thought, well, I'm just going to ride it out and hope for the best. And actually, the likes of Mr. Snodgrass did absolute bits and sent my rank through the roof, which was very nice. So yeah, Snodgrass, the absolute champion, had captain armband on Salah, so that was a good decision. Had Dean Henderson in goal, so he was great, and Firmino with his 3 assists. So they kind of all the ones that you would hope and want to do well did, with the exception of KDB and kind of Dele Alli in the middle. But both of them, I think, had their opportunities where they could have done something. So yeah, 91 points.
Wow.
I'm at 836 now. It feels weird not saying something with a K on the end. But yeah, really weird. So yeah, I'm doing all right.
Just adding that K makes all the difference. Yeah. Significant difference.
Yeah.
It's what you're used to, isn't it? I'm so used to saying I'm at like 6K or 10K or whatever it is, that to say something that doesn't have a K.
Just the fact that you say I'm so used to being 10K, 6K. Well, no. I'm like 600, 500.
This season I can't even say K. I've got to say million every time. I wish I could say K.
I miss Add K. Some zeros and you can say K. It's fine.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Okay then, so we'll head on over to Brett to find out how you got on.
Sure. Hey guys. Yeah, so, if anyone's been following the sort of Wildcats, I've had a pretty disastrous season for pretty much the whole season, really. I've been sort of lingering around the 2 million mark the whole time, second-guessing myself, and, a lot of captaincy blanks. I think I had 16 in 23 game weeks or something, my captain blanked. But the last 2 game weeks, I've had 2 80-plus scores. So the last 2 weeks have been the first really good weeks that I've had.
Wait up. Haven't you been our captain for the last 2 game weeks? The FPL Community Clash, I think you have.
Maybe it's a good omen.
Yes, give it back to me now, please.
Yeah, because Jay had it before and he had a really great run, so I'm thinking of stealing that next.
No, I'm going to fight you for that. I want to keep it, obviously. It's doing well. Yeah, I owe a lot to Mo Salah. I triple captained him the previous game week, got 48 points there, 32 this week. So I've risen over 1 million places in 2 game weeks, from 2.2 million to just outside the top million now. So nice. A bit more respectable. I played the wild card this week, and that, I was just going for broke, really. I wasn't happy with my team. My defensive setup, I had Kelly, Rico, Lundstrom, who was, rumoured to get dropped, Matt Target, who was conceding goals. I had Schmeichel in goal, no clean sheet in 1 in 10 or something.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to Everton. Yeah. They seem to have fallen off a cliff with clean sheets and stuff.
Absolutely. So I just sort of rejigged the whole defence. I doubled up on Sheffield United and Liverpool. They both kept clean sheets last week. Henderson 10-pointer, lovely stuff. And I took the risk to get rid of KDB 2 game weeks back and brought in Son, and he's outscored him by 6 points since. So that's kind of gone well as well, So yeah, up to just outside the top million now, a bit more respectable.
Nice. Yeah. And welcome back, Kurt. It's been a while, my friend. How are you?
Let's just get my team out of the way, shall we?
Okay, all right, my love. Go on.
One of those. I've made a couple of decisions that have been, questionable at best and got away with them, and they've ended up all right. So I've continued that trend, and in the end, I've just ran straight into a brick wall.
Oh dear.
Yeah, 44 points in this game week, not the best. I got the captaincy choice semi-right. I captained Van Dijk because I didn't fancy anyone else to. I didn't fancy Southampton, to score against Liverpool. Had Bobby Firmino, but that's just about where it stops. I decided this week would be a great choice if I brought in Nicolas Pepe, who played a grand total of 0 minutes. Yeah, I thought, you know what, I've taken risks and they've worked this season. Why not continue? And that's why not. Because
it's why not to take risks, kids.
Yes, exactly. I was in a really good position. If I'd have gone safe, I'd have gone with someone a lot safer, i.e. Salah, which I could have done. I would have had quite a few points. Instead, I thought, you know what? How bad can it get? It got quite bad. And then, the usual few blanking, Mahrez, De Bruyne. I didn't expect that result to happen for City. Jamie Vardy, as we said, mentioned his troubles since the little ones arrived. You've got Lundstram, who now all of a sudden looks like should be transferred out with, I can't remember what his name is, but £22 million man coming in to replace him.
Serge,
that's it. Yes, Serge. Digne as well with 1 point, albeit in a good result for Everton, but 1 point, conceding 2 sloppy goals. Ings as well, blanking. Oh, and to top it all off, I had Aurier as my third sub on the bench.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I honestly did not expect Spurs to go and get a clean sheet against Manchester.
That's fair.
No one
To
did.
be fair, he was second on my bench.
Spurs didn't.
And that penalty save as well kind of helped him keep the clean sheet. So
don't. Why didn't Aguero take that? Oh my god.
But yeah, 44 points, not the best, but we're coming into that point in the season where it starts to get a bit volatile. You can have those good game weeks and those bad game weeks pretty, close to each other. So I'm going to be looking to bounce back again.
Cool. That's the positive attitude to have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I haven't got much positive to say about my team, unfortunately. It was another red week for me this week. I've been having terrible luck recently, and it's mainly down to my defence. The only defender to do anything for me for weeks now is Trent. McCarthy did okay a couple of weeks back, but unable to get anything this week. Even though Lord Lundstram didn't start, it didn't matter because he did come on and get 1 point, which is about the same as what Rico and Kelly have done pretty much for me in the last 3 game weeks.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get into those.
They're just driving me potty, those two. There's not much to shout about midfield either. Obviously, Salah, my only midfielder to return, and thankfully I captained him. I did say in my video, though, that I feel a little aggrieved. I'm just going to put this out there for those people that had, say, Mane and Salah. I feel a bit upset by this Mane injury because not only did I get screwed over with the triple captainship, but also it was a really easy switch for people who had Mane. Yes, I'm looking at you, Jay. For those people who had Mane, to go straight to Salah. And so that advantage that I had over other people by having both of them was instantly taken away from me. And everyone and his dog was on Salah, and it was like, wow, there's that advantage gone. So I'm a little aggrieved by that, to be honest. Unlike Sam, I benched Snodgrass. I know.
That's gutting.
That is absolutely gutting. It's because of Traore, really. Like the last couple of game weeks, he's been first on my bench. He's one of those ones that you're never really sure what he's going to do against certain clubs. So I kind of thought, well, it's Man United, he could nick something there. And to be honest, all my focus was on whether I should go Aubameyang or Aguero this week. And so it was kind of a last minute kind of setup of the team anyway. And I just completely glossed over his fixture, completely glossed over it. Just didn't think, oh, it's Brighton, I should, play him. So that's completely on me. I did get Aguero and Grealish, neither of them returned. My whole front line was just a front line of ducks in the end. Lots of 2 points. Quack. So that's pretty much me, 55 points in total, so not great. How did you get on, Jay?
Well, hello everyone. I'm the guy that Nim's agreed with. I'm that guy that just had a nice easy swap. So apologies for that.
Bloody LJ.
Yeah. God, I knew I hated
I
that
mean,
guy.
you took the captaincy off me in Community Clash, so I'm like, I've got to get Nim somehow.
Fair enough.
So I got 60 points overall. It did see a rise in rank, not a significant one, but at least it's still positive. Literally, you could sum my game week up in 4 sentences. Salah, thank you for preventing me from dropping in rank and being a nice easy swap for Mane. Thank you,
alright.
Trent and Pope, for actually contributing this week. Aurier, that was unexpected. I wish I'd seen that coming. And as for the rest of my team, feel free to contribute at any point this game week because you did absolutely nothing for me. So, yeah. But a rosy picture. Grealish did look good in his game. So
He did.
I'm
He did.
quite
Very
happy.
unlucky not to score points.
Yeah, exactly. Despite the fixtures not looking great, it's almost similar to Vardy where I don't feel like I can get rid of him because he still looks like a dangerous player. And I want to keep him until he starts looking like he's not going to actually score points. Traore, I've
So
gone
will you
back
keep
to.
him through the blank, Jay?
Yeah, because I've got enough players to get through the game with 28 blank because it's not too significant a blank. So should be all right to keep him for that. We've got Traore back in for Hudson-Odoi. There's something about that Chelsea side I wasn't.
Oh, so you broke Traore
Hey,
you see,
I was the one that originally
Salah
had
from me,
Traore.
and then
Everyone
broke Traore.
jumped on Traore, and I thought it's probably time to get off now because everyone's jumping on. And then I've just got back on, so yeah, probably still my fault. On another day, Man City could have had 3, 4, 5 goals. So I'm still not sure about Kevin De Bruyne though, because I feel like there's just too many point scorers in that Man City side. And there could be game weeks where he does get points, doesn't get points. So I'm actually considering going no City moving forward. But we'll see if I actually do that. And yeah, I am tempted to go a bit rogue and just start picking some differentials now to kind of attack the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I might go ahead and do that. But yeah, overall, not an amazing game week. But I'm glad I had the easy transfer to make.
It's just a little dig at you, that was,
yeah,
Nim.
it just keeps digging, doesn't it? I'll find a way to get him back. Don't worry. I'm definitely taking that captaincy this week. Anyway, let's move on to the questions. We've got quite a few questions. Our first question comes from one of our mods on our new Discord channel. So if you haven't checked that out yet, guys, do go over and check that out. I'm sure the link will be in the description below. Her name's Samantha, and she's part of our Liverpool mod team. And she says, "Hey up, guys. Would you captain someone from the second weekend of fixtures in Game Week 26 and choose vice captain from the first weekend or vice versa?" So Sam, as our guest, what do you think of this one?
This is something that kind of is worrying me a little bit because I would like to captain Salah in reality, but there is that element of risk, isn't there, with captaining someone that's playing not for another week and a half, because what happens if something happens to them in training in that time? You're not going to be able to change it. It's done. So I think that what she said is right. I think you captain one and then you vice captain someone from, if you like, for me, I'm going to go Salah. So I'll vice captain somebody that's playing in the first weekend of 26. But I think the safer and probably more sensible thing to do is to captain somebody from this weekend, just
so
because
you're
going
telling me to captain Aguero.
I think so. I think the City assets are the sensible one. They've got a really nice fixture. They play this weekend. We're going to have a press conference just before it. It feels like the right thing. It feels like the sensible, safe thing. Captaining someone from the second week feels just a little bit more risky, which it probably isn't. It's unlikely, isn't it, that somebody's going to get injured in training in the next week and a half. But you just don't know. I mean, they're all in these different climates, aren't they? They've had a couple of days holiday, like particularly the Liverpool boys. Klopp, made it very clear that they were getting a few days holiday on their own, and then they were going for some warm weather training. Well, that changing climate and conditions, you just never really know.
Let's hope he puts a hip out dancing or something.
So let's see. But yeah, I think I am going to go with somebody in the second week, and I'll probably put my vice on KDB just to be safe.
Yeah. And what do you think, Jay?
I mean, it all makes sense, but to be honest, the season I'm having, I feel like taking a bit of a risk.
Oh,
So,
who are we thinking?
The City West Ham game is a good game to pick a captaincy from. And it's the only game I would personally consider from the first weekend. But in the second weekend, you've got Norwich versus Liverpool, you've got Aston Villa versus Spurs. Norwich and Aston Villa's defences look there for the taking. I'll probably still go Salah myself. And if lots of people don't give him the captaincy, then I think that would just make him more appealing to me. And I know it's a risk that there could be an injury, but I just think Liverpool versus Norwich, there has to be goals in that game. So I'm probably going to go Salah.
I just think that, sorry to interrupt you, I think it's like one of those things where in our community, in the FPL community, we're all considering this, like, should we captain for like first game week, second game week? But I think in the wider community, everyone's just going to go Salah.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Well,
Salah's going to be the highest captained player by far.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of dead teams as well that probably still haven't captained.
Yeah,
as well.
that's true.
And because the deadline's early, Mane will still be flagged. So people won't captain him, even if he might be fit for that one. But it's like 10 days after the deadline. So people won't captain him for that reason.
Yeah.
So many people are going to be on Salah. But like Jay said, I like the City fixture at home to West Ham. City do have a good record against West Ham. West Ham conceded 4 goals away to Leicester on the last away trip, 3 at home to Brighton, was it, the other day?
Yeah.
And because I'm ranked in the millions, I do want to look for opportunities to try and climb the ranks now. So I brought in Aguero on the wild card specifically to captain him for this game.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Broken him.
Warnings there.
Maybe you should
Warnings there.
give him the Community Clash captaincy and it should all be fine.
Exactly.
This is why Aguero didn't take the penalty. We've now worked it out.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
brought him in.
You would have missed it anyway.
I knew it was a bad choice. Although what he did text me to say to come with Aguero, and I was like, no, why didn't you go with Aubameyang?
Well, they both blanked anyway.
That's true.
Look, you just captain Salah then, Nim. All right, just captain Salah.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's
Solid
why definitely. That's why I brought in Aguero specifically for that game. It's a good chance to climb the ranks if it pays off. If it doesn't, I'm ranked in the millions anyway. And yeah, it's one of the earlier games. There's less headache about worrying about these injuries and whatever. Yeah. Plus, Liverpool do have 3 days later the away trip to Atletico Madrid. Quite a crunch fixture that, only 3 days after away to Norwich. So City have a nice break after West Ham. So, there's maybe, hopefully Aguero starts,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go Aguero.
Okay, and Kurt, so you don't have either... Sorry, waiting for you to get a drink there. Anytime you feel like chipping it. So you don't have Aguero and you don't have Salah right now, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So where will you be placing your captaincy? And will you do it based on where their fixtures are, or you
Firmino?
Go for your save?
Firmino is looking in form, however.
And it's away
through constantly having Firmino on our team and always saying whenever I transfer him out, I won't do that again. Is that no matter what I choose, I'll get it wrong. I always get it wrong with Firmino. If I've got him in my team and I just leave him in there, consistent good performances. The minute I've got that captain's armband on him, he'll just think, I don't fancy doing anything today. It's every single time. I am tempted. At the moment, it's sitting on Nicolas Pepe.
Wow. This is rogue.
Well, I've got him in my team, so I might as well use him. But yeah, I doubt it'll end there. I'm looking at potentially Dele Alli. I'm looking at Firmino. I'm looking at Mahrez at home to West Ham.
That's a nice shout. I like that shout.
Yeah, Mahrez could be a good shout.
He's been a couple of game weeks without a decent performance, so this is prime time for Mahrez to come in and think, double digits, 15 points, lovely jubbly.
Cool. Okay, I'll do one more before heading out to the chat for a question. So at Blades Attack says, as Jimenez doesn't blank in game week 28 or 31, care to predict how much his price will be, as everyone and their granny will have bought him in? So, Jay, what do you reckon? How much is Jimenez going to end up on?
As I'm running the stream, I don't have FPL up.
He's currently 7-7 at the minute.
7-7.
Yeah.
Saying by 24% as well, if that helps.
Okay. I don't know, because the thing is, there is, of course, the plus that he doesn't blank. But it all depends on people's chip strategy. If people have a strategy in place and Jimenez doesn't become that important a part of that strategy, then his price won't go up. And then, of course, you've got everyone outside of our community that might not even necessarily be planning that far ahead. So will they bring Jimenez in? Do they already own Jimenez? And then there's so many other options that right now look viable. Like, fixture-wise, you've got Ings, Vardy, Aubameyang and Firmino, all with potentially a good run of fixtures around that period. And you can't own 5 strikers, you can only own 3. So, I know, it would be perfect if you could have 5.
I know.
That should be a chip.
Yes,
Have
5
5
strikers.
that would be amazing. I would love that.
So,
Yeah.
I've looked at Jimenez, especially with Vardy's current run of form, but with the fixtures the way they are, I already own Vardy and Ings. I'm probably not going to make the move myself. I think he will go up in price. I think he will be a popular transfer, but I don't think it will be by too much. So maybe a 0.3, 0.4 million.
I think by the end of the season, you know, he could be pushing. I reckon he could be pushing about 9 mil.
Europa League comes back though.
I don't know. I just
How
think
far will
like
they get in Europa? And then
he's
that
going to
could
have a
change things.
big jump in the blank game week, I reckon, because he'll be an easy swap for some of the other players, I think. So, like, if
So
there's
we've gone from
Aubameyang's and
0.4
Aguero's out
million
there,
to getting to 9 million.
yeah, why not? By the end of the season,
You've got two
by the end of the
extremes here.
season,
Small rise, no, massive. It's going to be 9 million
go for
plus.
it. Everyone will buy him. What do we reckon, Kurt? Big rise, small rise?
I reckon big rise.
Yeah.
I reckon big rise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I can see a lot of people jumping on him eventually.
I know you're thinking about it, aren't you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm with Jay, though. I don't think he'll take that big a rise. I think that we as a community are all talking about Jimenez, but I don't think that the wider FPL players are. I think you'll find that the majority of those 7 million players that are playing are completely kind of led by who's performing well at the time. And I think Jimenez tends to slide under the radar because he's consistent. He doesn't bang. So it's not like, you know, he's getting like hat trick here and then hat trick there. It's like 1 goal, some assists or whatever it is. It's ticking along nicely. So he is someone I would like to own, definitely. The fact that he doesn't blank is nice. The fact that, you know, that I mean, 31 worries me less because let's be honest, it's going to be a free hit week.
Yeah.
So I don't really care what my players are doing in 31 because I'll just free hit 15 randomers in. And they're not going to cost you that much money because the teams that are going to play likely are quite cheap to own their assets. So
Sure.
I'm not too worried about 31. 28 is nice, but then I'm not too. My team for 28 in terms of the strike force isn't too much of an issue. Like, I've got Ings, I've got Vardy, I've got Firmino, so I'm all right for strikers. So I think there'll be a number of people that are in that bracket, and their problems are because they've got double Sheffield United at the back, and they've got an Aston Villa midfielder and that sort of thing. I think it's more like that. So I can see him going up to 8.1, but I can't see him going much beyond that.
Cool. And you in agreement with that, Brett?
Yeah. I think everything's sort of been covered there. I'm with Sam because only a small portion of the players, like just the Twitter community, are preparing well in advance for 28, 31, that kind of thing. Most of the game, they'll be reactionary. So when the blank 28 comes up, for example, maybe then we see a spike in transfers in for Jimenez and maybe 31 as well. But it won't be it won't be over a long period of time, like in preparation. It'll just be reactionary when those blanks come, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Jimenez maybe blanks this week against Leicester because then probably people won't look at him for that Norwich game as much, you know? It's always, they stay under the radar if they don't perform the week before, you know? And I'm looking at bringing him in for the home game against Norwich in 27. I think it's at home anyway, home or away. So, yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Jimenez blanks against Leicester this week and sort of stays a little bit under the radar again.
Cool. Okay, do we have a question from the chat, please?
Yes, we got a couple. So William De Jager wants to know, is anyone considering any Burnley defenders? Is anyone thinking about, getting any Burnley players in from their defence?
Yeah, well, since I've sold Pope, he's become an option again.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm just gifting you everything right now. Yeah, that's slightly annoying. These goalkeepers, they tend to have this like way of kind of, you sell them and then they go on a hot streak, don't they? Yeah, I have considered a few if I was to wildcard.
Charlie
And
Taylor looks quite nice.
Yeah, that's Taylor is who I was considering, and he doesn't blank either, does he?
That's right. That's right.
You got him in, right, Brett? In your
I did because I had Jack Stevens at Southampton, who was obviously a nice option, 4.4 million. But in order to get from Aubameyang to Aguero, I needed 0.2 extra. So I went from 4.4 Jack Stevens to 4.2 Charlie Taylor. And I've sort of planned out a couple of weeks now, and my plan is to bench boost in probably game week 27 in a single week. Because I always think it's good to bench boost quite soon after the wild card because you're able to build a team ready for it.
Yeah.
And because I'm wild carding early, it's very hard to keep all that value ready on the bench for like a double game week in 34. So I just thought, you know what, get the single game week bench boost out of the way, extract some value off the bench then in ready for the double game week, and just put all that into my starting 11 rather than holding all this value. I do rate the strategy of doing the wild card and bench boost with the double game weeks later in the season. But because I've had to wild card now, I've kind of just think get the bench boost out of the way. So long story short, Charlie Taylor kind of fits that plan well because I think he's at home to Bournemouth in game week 27 as opposed to Jack Stevens, who was at home to Villa maybe. So two nice fixtures there for a bench boost. And then obviously he plays in game week 28 as well. And because I've doubled up on Sheffield United defence, so I've got Ender Stevens at the moment anyway. He's going to blank in 28. So obviously Charlie Taylor covers that as well nicely. I think he's got Newcastle away maybe in 28, which again is, let me double check.
Yeah.
Newcastle away. So that's a nice cover there for anyone with Sheffield United defenders. Charlie Taylor covers that well at 4.2 million as well. So he's who I'd look to from Burnley for sure.
Yeah. Cool. And what about you? Would you like fancying a bit of a mad punt on somebody like Wood or?
No, not really, because I from game week 1 I've just had Pope in there, and a double up in defence would look good if it's Liverpool, Man City, because you feel like they're confident enough in them. Sheffield United potentially, for the weird ones. Just Sheffield United I couldn't do. But I don't think I could double up on Burnley. If anything, I would chuck maybe Charlie Taylor in, who's the cheapest of the playing a lot, but that's only because he'd be cheap and he would be probably go in for someone who's 5 million, probably Lundstram, and that would give me a chance to sort of put money elsewhere, maybe get a Salah in for a pointless player like Nicolas Pepe, something like that. Who could still be my captain. Point out.
So Sam, what do you think, Burnley? Anybody sticking out there for you?
It's just Charlie Taylor, I think. He's the obvious one. The others I don't really fancy. Even Nick Pope, I think, it doesn't really fit with my really cheap rotating, and I'm never going to get rid of Henderson ever. The man is an absolute hero. Even with a blanking, when he can't play Manchester United.
Did you have him from game week 1, Sam?
Yes, double Sheffield from game week 1. Had Lundstram and Hendo. And they have been
probably helped a lot, I should imagine.
They have been legends. And I played them together a lot this season. So I think, if you can get the right combination, and I do agree with what Kurt was saying, you have to get the right combination of two. I don't think it's Burnley. So I think if you've got Pope, that's enough. Or if you've got Charlie Taylor, that's enough. But I think with Sheffield United, there's definitely scope. And by getting rid of Lundstram, which is, I'm afraid, probably going to be on the cards, I'm going to have to bring in another Sheffield United defender, but after they've blanked in 28.
Yeah. And Jay, what do you reckon to a bit of Westwood, y'all?
We all know I like Dwight McNeil, but it just, the points don't come up often enough for me to go there. Yeah. I do like Taylor, like everyone else, purely because I'm looking at Lundstram, I'm looking at potentially moving to a different Sheffield United asset in defence, and I like Henderson. And then, of course, Taylor would be saving me some money because I've accrued a lot of value in Lundstram, so potentially I can then move to Henderson. So I do like the looks of Taylor, but I wouldn't be doubling up. So if I did stay with Pope, then I wouldn't be looking at anyone else.
Fair enough. Okay, another mod and regular here, Fantasy Football Focus. Sam, in your rank of 836, what is your managerial game plan? Is it to take the differential options, or do you prefer to play it safe with your captaincy choices?
This is similar to what Jeff asked, wasn't it, a few weeks back? Because he was around 3K, wasn't he? And he was asking the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think my strategy generally in terms of transfers has been to look for low ownership differentials who are also low risk. So the likes of Firmino, when I bought him in, he was like 8% owned or something ridiculous. Very low risk because it's Firmino at Liverpool, but massive rewards if he does anything because he's not got the same ownership as Salah and Mane do. And it was a straight choice between Firmino and Mane for me at that point. And I was like, well, massive reward, less kind of negative if he doesn't do well. It was kind of the same with Dele Alli as well when I bought him in, low ownership, nice reward if Spurs finally actually do something. So that's been kind of my strategy with bringing in my transfers. I don't like to just bring in the really, really obvious pick. It's like somebody who's a bit like what Kurt was trying to do with Pepe, I guess. Bring in somebody that's not as well owned, that could boost you. Because at that point, when you're talking about boosts, for me, it was like 10K down. The movement is... it's smaller, so you have to be more different from what everyone else is doing. In terms of the captain, though, I suppose I did go a bit risky by putting my armband on Firmino in the double rather than Salah. But of late, I actually think that the captain's armband, because of Salah's ownership, it was a bit like Vardy was pre-Christmas. If you move it off of them when they've got such high levels of ownership and they do anything, you're going to get a red arrow, regardless of whether you own them or not. So for me, I do play it a bit more safe with the captain's armband. It'll be on Salah if he's got a nice fixture, because it would be suicide to not. But in terms of transfers, I try and be a bit more low risk diffs.
Yeah, that's interesting. The thing I found with going to attacking, and I know this is something that Brett can kind of chime in on here. As soon as I went Mane, it felt very much like it was one or the other that was doing something with Mane and Salah. And yet the weeks where they were sharing out, the defence was always getting that consistent haul of a clean sheet. And so it very much felt like, even though you had these two great assets from Liverpool, and this is probably why I'm not going to go back to Mane, even though I could, it is just that it kind of felt like it was one or the other that I was getting, the points from. I think where it's been good with Firmino is that he tends to be involved in one, with one or the other that does well, and that's kind of where that difference is made, I guess, to somebody who say has gone.
I also think he's that much cheaper. So in terms of his budget, he is, because this was one of the main decision makers. One of them was overall ownership, and wanting to be a bit more sword rather than the shield pick. And I felt Mane, I felt if I bought in Mane, I was going to be doing it because I was scared and not because I was really doing what I wanted to do. So it was like, right, follow the gut and just go with Bobby. But in doing that, it meant I had like 4 million in the bank because I'd cleared enough from my team to have Mane in case I panicked. So I had all this money sitting in the bank, and half of it still sat there. So it's a case of like, well, now I've got the money to kind of go and upgrade. Like, we talk about defenders upgrading on Lundstrom or whoever it is. It's kind of nice actually, because it means that the rest of my team feels a little bit more balanced. And when you're trying to get through double game weeks and blank game weeks without wildcarding too soon, because I'm trying to hold it if possible, it's quite nice because it does mean the rest of my squad feels a bit more able to cope with the different game weeks that you've got, and benching somebody is less of a problem. Whereas owning Salah and Mane means that your budget is tight everywhere else.
I completely agree. Like, the second I saw Mane, I had so much cash, and I was kind of like, it almost was like it was too much almost, because I didn't know what to do with it, and then you start thinking, do I madness?
You feel like you should spend it, don't you?
You feel like you should spend it, and then it's almost a curse, because you end up choosing players, like you said, that you just wouldn't even, consider, and you just think, oh, I'll go there because I can afford them, rather than necessarily kind of wanting them. Is there anything else that you would add to that, Brett, after coming off of Salah and Mane?
Yeah, I mean, I went for Mane and Salah because I felt like it had the biggest upside, because they can both be so explosive and the fixtures look so good, and I was just excited about owning both of them and not having that worry about if Mane does well, it's going to hurt my rank, or if Salah does, blanks and vice versa, And look, the Mane injury was so unlucky. Like, doubling up on those two could have paid.
I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
Luckily,
it's too raw.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for me, if it wasn't for my rank, I may have gone Mane that week, that double week. It was only because I was chasing and Salah was the differential compared to Mane at the time that I put the triple captain on him and just kind of hope for the best. But, most people will say Mane's been the better player for the last year, so I actually was more concerned about Mane. He got injured, and of course, deep down I was sort of like, oh my God, this is great. Like, in FPL terms, it was good really that Mane got injured for me because I had Salah captain. But having the both of them could have still very much paid off. We're only saying it was bad now because Mane got injured, and that's a bit unlucky. But I do know what you're saying, because the one main thing, even though we didn't get to have Mane and Salah for long together, the one thing that did...
Oh, it sounds like we went on a journey together. It was beautiful for just a moment.
It
ended horribly.
The problem with it is, like when you've got two great rotating goalkeepers, and we always seem to be on the, with Pope, for example, people have got two keepers and they bench Pope for against like Leicester and United and all these tough fixtures, and he's the one that has been benched and got all these points. When you have Salah and Mane, every week it's like, which one do I captain here? And that can often be detrimental, because you can often be on the wrong side of the captain every time. You can yo-yo between them. At least if you've got one of them and both Trent and Robbo or Van Dijk, you're probably not going to captain those. You can just leave it on Mane or leave it on Salah, and most of the time when you take that 50-50 out, it makes life a bit easier. It's less stress, and it can often reward you more because you're not yo-yoing between them and constantly missing the hauls. So even though I didn't get to have Mane and Salah long, that's one thing I don't miss already, is the fact that I would have to choose who to captain in one of these fixtures, which are so good for so long,
I'm interested then, Sam, do you feel similar with Firmino as a captaincy choice, or do you just not feel confident enough? Is it like, if it's a choice between Liverpool, do you instantly think Salah and not even kind of consider Firmino, or do you literally just go with a gut pick, whichever you feel might do better that week?
It's a gut pick, to be honest. Like, I triple captained Firmino over Salah this year in the double, just because I felt like the upside of Firmino was enormous. And after the first round of the double game week, it was 100% the right thing. And he was really unlucky that he didn't get any returns in that second game. I don't think there wasn't likely to be goals from him, but he was unlucky not to get some assists in that game. So yeah, I mean, it's not as clean cut as, oh, I won't put it on him, I will. I won't put it on him at home, but in an away nice game like this weekend or next weekend, away at Norwich, I'm tempted by Firmino, I've got to be honest, because it's 10 goals now away from home this season. It's Norwich, who just defensively are shaky, and I do think he could do really well. He's got a lot better record than Salah has away from home. So I do think he could do well. And I think actually if Liverpool were playing on Saturday, I'd have put it on Firmino. But because it's a week's time, it already feels like I'm taking a bit of a risk by captaining a Liverpool player. So I'll go with the safe one and put it on Salah. And
fair enough. Yeah.
There's kind of less regret, I think, doing it that way than there would be the other way around.
Okay, so this question kind of feeds in nicely to a question we had from Matt Bardi Boys, and he says, is going Firmino as a premium over Aguero or Aubameyang an option? So, Kurt, what do you think?
Aubameyang,
seeing as you have Firmino, Aguero.
I'm not sure about the premium because I've chopped and turned on all of this. I did have a Aubameyang at the start of the season.
You did,
He has since been transferred out. He's been in for quite a while. But my highest price attacker is Vardy or Firmino. One of the two. I think Vardy's higher overall, but because I got him in earlier, Firmino's got more of a price on him. I don't know. With the attackers, it's. I do like Aguero. I do like Aubameyang. I just think there's more value in the midfield. I just think Kevin De Bruyne's, the Salahs, the Manes, if and when he decides he wants to start playing football and FPL again. There's Nicolas Pepe. There's some really good midfielders in there.
You're really pushing us. Look, if he gets a hat trick this week, it's going to be all hell to really.
Sort of like when you talk about liars, I'm thinking if I lie to myself enough and I just say Nicolas Pepe's good, all of a sudden I'm going to wake up tomorrow and think, God, what a player Nicolas Pepe is. I can't believe no one else has got him in. I'll convince myself he's a good player.
He's a differential that's low risk.
Yes,
clearly.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a differential, and at just 2.4% of ownership, you can get him as well, people. But
you persuaded me here, Kurt. That's what I'm going to do this week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
for the top spot, Sam.
I'm going for number one in the world. Pepe in the captain in him.
Oh wow. Oh my
God. No, I'm not too convinced on the strikers. I'm happy with happy-ish with Vardy. He's on the chopping block if he doesn't score in the next couple of weeks. But the premium ones I'm not considering at the moment.
So as you're on Firmino, you're saying that it's fine to go him over an Aguero or Aubameyang.
Yeah, well, I mean his current points totals back him up.
Yeah.
He's been doing brilliant so far. So, he's got to keep it going. And as FPL tells you in the past, he struggles to consistently perform for week in, week out. He will have a couple of weeks where he just not necessarily performs bad, but in his play in general will drop off deeper, allow the Salahs and Manes to go forward and attack a bit more. But providing he still keeps on playing the way he is, I think he's got a good chance of becoming one of those bigger tier strikers next year at least.
Jay, Firmino over Aubameyang or Aguero, what we're thinking?
We're looking at three players here who are all capable of scoring big points. But minutes-wise, we're looking at Firmino, who he plays when he can. Orba's had less minutes than him in the last 4. Aguero's had less minutes. Aubameyang's probably more because, he got a red card? Yeah. And Aguero, there's always the risk of rotation at Man City, no matter who you are. It doesn't. Even players like Aguero and Kevin De Bruyne. But using Fantasy Football Scouts member area, comparing goal threat to Aguero to Firmino, because those are the two I would be leaning towards. For 2.3 million cheaper on Firmino, you're not actually getting underlying stats that are that much worse. Firmino has more penalty area touches, 38 to 36 in the last 4. Attempts is 20 to 16 in Aguero's favour. Big chances 7 to 6 in Aguero's favour. And on target, 10 to 8 in Aguero's favour. But if you compare the price that's a lot cheaper of a player, and he's not too far behind the stats. And then chance creation, Firmino's a lot better than Aguero is for creating chances. 14 chances created to Aguero's 4, and 3 assists to Aguero's 1. And Liverpool are the informed side at the moment, so and fixture-wise as well, Firmino's got better fixtures. So I can definitely see an argument for going Firmino. As far as Aubameyang does have the fixtures, but again, there just feels a bit more certainty going with someone like Firmino. So I'd probably go Firmino.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on whether you're already on double Liverpool defence and a Liverpool midfielder, isn't it, really? Because I'm not sure I'd be taking one of those out in order to get Firmino. It's kind of a decision. I wouldn't be taking out an Aguero or Aubameyang yet either in order to get Firmino. I think they got, especially this week at least, good fixtures enough to kind of see you through that. But if you were sat on a wild card and you were considering your options and it felt like it could get you some other players, then as Jay's just said nicely, that he's definitely a contender. And I'm sure Sam is a big fan of his, as he's done well for you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't even looked at getting it. I can't bring myself to own Aguero. It hurts me. It pains me too much, the stress of looking at the team sheets from Pep. I just can't deal with it. He's too much money to run the risk of him just sitting on the bench and coming on for 20 minutes. Like, and I get that he's Aguero, right, and he can score in the 20 minutes that he comes on for. I understand all of that.
Please don't say bad things about my boyfriend.
Sorry, Neil.
Well, come on more often. Come on more often.
I'm not saying bad things about Aguero. It's Pep and his roulette.
Yeah,
I can't bring myself to, given the.
Yeah, I mean, why did he take him off in that match? I mean, he looked the most likely to score. I just cannot understand it.
It would frustrate the hell out of me to own him, which is why I haven't owned him this season, and I won't. I won't own him. Aubameyang's a bit different because the fixtures are really nice, but the thing is with Aubameyang is I don't trust the rest of the Arsenal team. They're not consistent enough yet. Like I think Arteta's made massive improvements in them, and you can see that for large percentages of the game. But then they still do Arsenal things for like 20 minutes here and there, and you kind of go,
"It's true.
What's happened here? Like a minute ago you were doing really well, and now like you're being played off the field again." And so for me, that rules him out as well. And then I look at Firmino, and all right, he's not so brilliant at home. In terms of goals anyway, he's still getting assists at home, but away from home he is absolutely on form. So I feel I can trust him with the armband, whereas I don't feel I can with the other two. He's ahead of Aguero on total points scored. He's like how many points behind Aubameyang? He's on 122 and Aubameyang's on 129, so there's nothing in it really. But like when you look at the top four for point scores for forwards, it's Vardy, Rashford, Jimenez, and then Abraham. So there is definitely a case for not owning a premium forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ings not far behind those as well.
And then Ings, Aubameyang, then Ings, then Firmino, Aguero, Pookie, and then Kane, who's been injured for the last God knows how long.
Pookie, remember that guy? That fizzled out quickly, didn't it?
It was over, wasn't it?
Okay, cool. So Barry Boys, he had another question here, and he said he'd also like to know wildcard essentials. So I've been seriously considering whether to wildcard this week, and I think my essentials would be 2 playing goalkeepers, because if I'm going to wildcard early, then I need to know that I'm going to be able to cover, different fixtures till the end of the season. 3 Liverpool assets. At the moment, I only have 2 because I had to sell Mane because he was injured. 2 Sheffield assets in defence. And even though they do blank, I think it would be worth it, even if you were wildcarding early, to have them in your team. And that's why I think kind of going a Henderson and a defender helps you out there, because you'll have another playing goalkeeper in the blanks, so it's not like you're losing 2 defenders or you have 2 Sheffield United defenders on the bench. But then just having a bit of a plan of who you could field maybe in game week 28 if you didn't want to free hit. So if you weren't kind of thinking, so Brett will be able to help a bit here because he has wildcarded early. If you were thinking that you've already used your free hit and you've got your wild card and you really just need to use it, and you're thinking, how am I going to get through, then having some sort of plan for 28, the blank. Although it's such a dodgy game week, I don't think it's going to be one of those game weeks where having 11 players is really going to make a massive amount of difference, to be honest. So I think even if you can cover a good few and still be able to have a plan to get a couple more, I think that's probably my essentials. But Brett, having just wildcarded, did you have any other different essentials there that you think might be useful?
Well, a bit like what I said earlier, I'll try and explain, but like you said, you want the 2 goalkeeper options. So I've got Henderson, obviously from Sheffield United, highest scoring goalkeeper, second best defence in the league so far. And then I've got McCarthy from Southampton, who've got good fixtures as well. Now, obviously, when I'm on a wild card, I would love to invest a lot into the starting 11 and then have the likes of Button as a second goalkeeper. But I was kind of thinking, well, hang on, I haven't used the bench boost yet, so I'm going to have to use that eventually. So I need to kind of get that out of the way and have some good options for the bench boost, because I was looking at even Winston Reid at 3.9 million as a defender just to hold on the bench and invest more. But again, I was thinking, well, I've got the bench boost still available. So I don't want to have to buy and use transfers to build up that bench again in the future. So I might as well wildcard into a bench boost team now and get that out of the way, So that was my reasoning for bench boosting early now. Because at the same time, when I've got Henderson and McCarthy, for example, 2 rotating goalkeepers, not only is it a headache each week of which one to pick, it's also more money on the bench until game week 34. So my thinking was, fill up the bench with nice players, bench boost, and then take that money out, transfer McCarthy in after I've used the bench boost and, get some more money for the starting 11 then. So yeah, that would kind of be my recommendation. I think Henderson and McCarthy are a good pair. They cover each other quite nicely in 28. Jamal Lascelles is a player I think is excellent value. Newcastle.
Brett, you're a man of my heart. You are. These 3 are all on. Well, Lascelles is definitely going to come in for me. I'm all about him.
Yeah,
they're my 2 keepers as well.
Yeah, I saw some people, mention Lascelles, and it was only until I went onto the website and saw he was 4.2. And I was like, wow,
bargain.
That is like really cheap now. And Newcastle have great fixtures. He's the captain. They're a defensive-minded team.
Yeah.
And they don't score many goals. So if they do keep clean sheets, he's got a chance of bonus as well. Arguably, he's got a little bit of goal threat. Most centre-backs do. You never know. You might get a header from a corner. And again, I think in 27, when I plan to bench boost, Jamal Lascelles is away to Palace, who don't score that often. There could be a 0-0 Palace Newcastle. It's not a bad fixture to bench boost Lascelles in. In 28, then he's at home to Burnley, so he covers, my Sheffield United blanking, and I think I've got
Brett,
blanking as well. So.
When I saw your wild card, it was like pretty much spot on to what my defense would be if I was wildcarding. Now I really think you've nailed the good balance between premium and budget players that get you through the next run of fixtures for sure. I mean, it is a toss up between whether you go say Stevens over a Lascelles or a Taylor, but I think you've definitely kind of, they were the kind of 3 that I was muddling with for those spots. I really think you've kind of,
Oh, thanks, Tim. Thank you. And one essential for me was Danny Ings. I haven't had him all season. And even though I wildcarded when he was away to Liverpool, the fixtures after that were so good. Southampton have a lovely run of fixtures.
So Ings is your fault.
No, it's Lee's fault. Lee broke down.
Okay.
Don't forget.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy that he's blanked a few times because people may be getting frustrated. I think this is a great time to bring him in now. People I think 40,000 people have sold him now this week.
He was fantastic last night.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd actually seen him score this season, brilliant. Live watching a match, because every other game has either been at 3:00 or where I've owned him, I just haven't yet got to see him. So I actually cheered a little bit when he scored last night, because I was like,
I did not. I was like, no, Danny, save that for the fantasy points.
Sorry, fair enough. But I was just a bit like, yay, I've seen him score. Which sounds odd, but it's just like, because I've missed most of them because they haven't been on telly, so it was quite cool to actually, and it was quite a good finish as well. It wasn't an easy goal.
And just finally, I was quite a big fan of Ender Stevens. I was quite a big advocate for him as a good differential. I mean, needed differentials now. He's only just over 2% ownership. Obviously, with Lundstrom being dropped. If Stevens wasn't 5 million at the start of this season, I probably would have had him. If he was 4.5 at the beginning, I probably would have had him because of his record in the Championship. Yeah. But arguably, you could say FPL priced him right because Sheffield United have been amazing value. So, more chances created than Lundstrom and Baldock over the last couple of game weeks. Almost scored on the weekend as well. Had a shot on target, a decent save. So I quite like Ender Stevens as the differential with some goal threat.
Yeah, I know that Jay and I both did videos covering that, pre-season. Stevens was in them, wasn't he, Jay?
Yeah.
I was literally saying the whole defence.
Well,
did I go with double defence? No,
neither did I.
No. I made a video about bringing Firmino in. Did I bring Firmino in? No. I say these things and then I don't do it.
I hate shouting out a player and then not doing it.
That is our problem, I think, is that as content creators, we often very good at giving advice to other people, but then it's separating yourself to remember your own advice. You've obviously done that a bit better than us, Sam.
Well, I don't know. I've still had a few that I've kind of gone, why did I not do that? Like, it was the obvious. But I think sometimes that you look so much at different players that you just got to make one, haven't you? And
yeah, definitely. Okay, at FPL_JRF would like to say, hey Wildcats, good to have you all back. I want to say that in like an American accent. It's still early being game week 26, but which teams look likely to land up on the beach soon? Everton, Norwich, and maybe even Arsenal. So, Kurt, who do you think is going to be on the beach soon?
Arsenal, seriously?
Pepe is already there.
I forgot Pepe, yeah.
Bamiyang's actually on holiday
Arsenal.
now, so he's technically on the beach.
Arsenal as a team, they've got a long way to go. Some Arsenal individuals, potentially, yes, because I think Arsenal have been diabolical this season in most of their games. However, you look at the performances of people like Aubameyang, who for I can't remember how many game weeks it was at the start of the season, just consistently got goal after goal after goal after goal, which was part of the reason why I started so well, because he was so consistent. He got returns in all of his first sort of 10 odd game weeks. I don't fancy anyone in Arsenal besides, obviously, the Lord himself. Praise be to Nicolas Pepe. And then I do like Everton. I like the way they're playing now. I saw a Twitter post actually saying, since Arteta and Ancelotti have been signed or were appointed as managers of both their clubs, I think Everton are up. I think they're either second or in the top four, and Arsenal are quite a way down. So, and it's just jokingly posing the question: did they get them the wrong way round? Did Arteta go to the wrong club? Did Ancelotti was Ancelotti potentially looked over when he shouldn't have been? I think he's doing a good job there. He's got proven history in the Premier League. Granted, I don't think he's going to make Everton a Champions League team, a Premier League winning team, but he's got them playing the right way. And I think you look at the attacking threats that they've got in there. You look at the Richarlisons, the Calvert-Lewins, maybe even you look at the Theo Walcotts, bloke with pace who can maybe utilise someone like Carlo Ancelotti at the helm. I think Everton are a good choice for a couple of players.
Yeah, I think Brighton, maybe, or maybe that's just because they're near the beach and the weather's getting warmer, so they could be about to kind of be quite close to slipping down. West Ham, obviously, Norwich, Bournemouth.
They've all got so much to fight for, though. They could, all of these teams, like you look at the league, it's so close.
Yeah.
Up till, so the bottom three, West Ham on 24, then above them Villa, Bournemouth, Brighton, they could all easily be dragged back down into it if West Ham go on a run, so they've got to stay focused. I'd even bracket Crystal Palace in there. They're at 30. They're probably the last team
that made Tavius won't like you saying that.
But I think those, like all of those clubs, they can't afford to go on the beach.
No, that's true.
They have to keep playing because they can easily get slipped back down into it. Then you've got that kind of middle bracket of clubs that are kind of like Southampton, Newcastle, Burnley. They're the ones that are at risk of it, I think. And then you've got the middle ground where, like, the likes of Arsenal and Everton. Now, Arsenal have to improve. They just have to improve. So they've got to keep playing. They can't be on the beach. I don't think Arteta's the sort to let them either. And I think, what we've just been saying about Everton is absolutely right. They have been brilliant since Ancelotti arrived. They are not far away from the Europa League spot. And if they keep playing as they have been, they can easily make that. I don't see them just kind of going, shut up shop, because they could do really well this season now, given how bad they were doing under Silva earlier on in the season. It's a remarkable turnaround. Just, and then you've got Wolves, Man United, Sheffield United, Spurs, Chelsea, Leicester. They've all got things to fight for. Man City, on the other hand, I think they could go on the beach in the Premier League and focus on the Champions League.
Yeah,
they can't win it anymore. And they're not going to fall out of the top four.
That is my only concern with Arsenal, though, if I'm honest, is that I really think that Arteta might put a lot of his thought process into Europa now and trying to get us a trophy that way, because I do struggle to think that, given all the draws we've had since he's come in, I don't think he's going to be able to turn things around so much with us that we're going to be able to climb, massive amounts to, we're not looking at top 4 this season. So I think he will take a lot of that and use the Premier League to do as best he can in the Europa. So I think that's where we might suffer. But you're definitely right. City could. I think that's why I'm not really hanging my hat on keeping Aguero long term. I think it will very much depend on how well they do in the Champions League, and if they manage to, keep going in that.
There'll be a lot of rotation from City in the Premier League, is my view.
If they go out of the Champions League, then
that's different.
Then we can kind of pile in, and I think Pep will just. I think he's going in the summer anyway. Personally, I think he's done what he came to do, and yes, he'd love to leave with, the Champions League trophy. But I think I don't think I can see him going another season. It already sounds, when he talks in his press conference, like he's kind of, paving the way, ready to say goodbye pretty much. So I'd be very interested to see what happens if they come out of the Champions League, and whether or not he'll kind of give all the kids a chance in City, or whether he'll just want to have a really good run towards the end of the season, because they do have some lovely fixtures towards the late half of the season. So that might persuade me back to an Aguero a bit later on, if they were out of the Champions League and and that good run. But definitely a few people. Any other teams that anyone wants to take a shout out on there, or are we cool to take another question from the chat?
I think we're good.
Cool. Do you have one for us then, please, Brett?
Yes. So Paul in the chat, and also FPL Tips as well, kind of asks a similar. FPL Tips is asking about Maddison, basically.
Okay.
Because
I do have a question from Tips here in a second. He put on Twitter.
Harry's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
Yeah. So he mentions Maddison because obviously people are getting frustrated now. We're kind of dropping Leicester options. Like, a lot of these wildcard teams haven't got any Leicester now. All of a sudden, we've gone from triple ups with Soyuncu, Maddison, Vardy, to none of them really. At least I have. So what do we think about Leicester? I mean, we've all lots of people are jumping off them now, but the fixtures do turn again. They don't blank now in 28. They've got the Norwich fixture in 28, which really increases their appeal. The fixtures turn then as well. So what are we thinking?
That has been in consideration if I was to do an early wildcard, that's a Pereira and Barnes are my kind of two. my
That's
two.
mine
but
and Brett's. We were on Barnes a year ago.
I already had Barnes in my wildcard draft, as Sam can attest to. So Pereira is the only one that's given me a bit of a headache, because I feel like he's so good with that attacking threat. Like he almost looks like another midfielder at times, that if Leicester do go on this great run and they pick up form again, he could definitely be like one of those players that we're thinking, oh gosh, who do we drop in order to get him in? If it would only be a Liverpool defender, say I went for the wildcard that I'm thinking with 2 Liverpool and the rest kind of cheaper assets, I'd have to lose one of my Liverpool defenders in order to get Pereira in alongside them. Otherwise, that's quite an expensive defence. But he has impressed me when he plays, because he really does bomb forward, and those fixtures are great. I'm more likely to. The main question, I guess, is Vardy, isn't it? That's the one that everyone's still not sure about, and there's just this temptation to hold him given everything he's done. I was one of the first people on him before he hauled up. Probably one of my successes of this season so far was getting on him early, him and Soyuncu, and it paid off spectacularly. But now I'm wondering if I've been late getting off of him. And I know that there's a few of us that feel the same way here. So did you sell him in your wild card, Brett?
I did, but I sold him genuinely with a plan to get him back.
Okay.
So because he was so heavily owned, and he was kind of blanking, I had him and he was, 40, 50% owned at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the fixtures, and who did they just play? They were playing Chelsea at home, Wolves away, and Man City at home. So arguably, look, I know Chelsea haven't been great recently, but there's 3 tricky fixtures there: Chelsea, Wolves, City. And I kind of thought, well, Vardy's out of form. This does seem like a good opportunity to try and climb the ranks by dropping him for someone who's less owned. But when the fixture, and at the time, I assumed they would get to the League Cup final as well. That was, I was kind of banking on them getting to the League Cup final. I thought, well, okay, they've got Chelsea, Wolves, City, then a blank. This is great. I'll get rid of him now. And hopefully, statistically, that would probably pay off.
Yeah.
That obviously did affect it now because he doesn't blank. And that worries me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this punt on Aguero for this West Ham game was, in my mind, always going to be quite short term because he blanks in 28 anyway. So I think Vardy coming back in from 28 onwards, Norwich away, Villa at home, 2 very poor defences back to back. Obviously, no Champions League commitments either. Watford, Bournemouth, there's a lot of nice fixtures there.
Yeah.
So Vardy for me is the one I would definitely want back. As for the rest, I mean, maybe Grealish up to Maddison, because I still rate Maddison as a very good option. I know I haven't had him all season, but he has ticked over nicely. Granted, he hasn't done that well recently.
I think if Barnes is keeping his spot, I'd prefer him over Maddison.
Yeah, I mean, Grealish to Barnes is actually an easier switch because it's a straight swap as well. So that's a decent shout too. Yeah, I mean, even Perez is a decent punt. They're all a little bit rotation.
Perez, he's been doing good.
Rotation.
Perez does well without Vardy though. So put Vardy back in the team. Perez performs less well statistically.
Yeah, interesting.
That's a good point.
Well, what about their defence then, Jay?
Oh, yeah.
What about their defence? Have you, Soyuncu's popular, Schmeichel, Johnny Evans, Pereira, Chilwell?
I would only go Leicester defence if you're going for Pereira or Chilwell. I don't think they're that defensive solid team we saw earlier on in the season anymore. Yeah. So I think their other options, Soyuncu was cheap at the time, which is why a lot of us went for him. But I think now, for me personally, it has to be either one of their attacking fullbacks, or it has to be Barnes, and it has to be Vardy. Maddison, I think it's just that one time I got burned when they won 9-0 and Maddison got 1 return.
Yeah, I remember that. You were so irritated.
Every time a goal was scored, check my phone.
Yeah, I think Lee was with you on that, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was just... I'm sorry, if you're in a game and you're one of the most great midfielders in the league and your team wins 9-0, at least 2 returns. At least. So, yeah, I don't think I'll be going back to Barnes for a while. He has to either move club or really start performing, getting some double-digit hauls before I could ever think of going to Maddison.
Yeah, I mean, Maddison's not a double-digit haul kind of guy, though, but it was only, look, I know it's a while back now, but on Game Week 19 or something, he was from Game Week 6 to Game Week 19, he was the 3rd highest scoring player in the game behind Mane and Rashford or something. And I was sort of how did that happen? Where did that come from? But he was just ticking over really slowly,
Yeah.
He does do that. And I think it's easier for me to say because I've never owned him. So it always felt like he was punishing me a bit, and
same.
so we have different perspectives because you've had him in that 9-0 and he frustrated you. I didn't have him and he scored the free kick in that 9-0 and it obviously annoyed me.
Yes.
He had to score that free kick.
I was
So
be grateful you got a free kick out of it.
He annoyed everyone.
Yeah. Non-owners were unhappy and so were the owners as well. So I still rate Maddison, but I get what you're saying because Barnes is on form now, 3 goals in 3, I think, and cheaper, so easier switch from Grealish, who blanks in 28. I've still got a bit of a liking to Johnny Evans. I know he's not the most
random.
Yeah, I think I got drawn to him as a differential earlier this season because Soyuncu was so heavily owned and Johnny Evans was the differential there. And every time I watch Leicester, he always gets on the end of Maddison.
It's unlucky.
He always gets on the end of them, and there's been 3 or 4 times where he's either missed a really open.
That's it.
header.
He's missed.
I know, but
he's really bad at heading on target.
That is the problem.
Don't do it, man.
So yeah, it's hard to sell because I think they've got 1 clean sheet in 10 now, and I had Schmeichel through that spell. So
are you on any? Are you still on any Leicester besides Vardy?
I think I've still got Sion-Q in the defence, just purely because he's cheap,
same.
he's harmless, and
Just haven't been able to get rid of him.
Harmless.
Yeah.
I like that description.
Too
He's
many other
harmless.
things to do.
No, he's harmless. He's killing my defence, man, because I feel like I should be playing him every week, and then I do, and my
it's the
return is
sort
1 point. It's like he's very harmless.
He's the sort of player that he's not a massive problem to the point where I've got to get him out. But he's the sort of player you're happy to leave in there when you've got bigger problems. I.e., when I thought, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I've got to get Nicolas Pepe in, the Lord and Saviour, the Holy Christ. I thought, you know what, Sion-Q can stay for another week, and then I can get Pepe in. More important.
I'm so sorry about this, man.
Pepe, this is brilliant.
He just has these
You
moments
wait.
sometimes.
If
where
he gets
just
a double
You
goes
wait till he's
on the
benched
weekend,
again
that's
this
it.
weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I think either way, we're going to have to clip this and put it on
Yes.
like Twitter.
Whatever happens,
Yeah.
he's either going to go massive or just sit on the bench the whole game, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Our Pristavou says, do you know the game week plans that will come? So, of course, we don't know all of them yet, but we do know 28, which is Arsenal, City, Aston Villa, Sheffield United.
That's right.
And that's about as much as we know, I believe. I think the guys will agree with me there.
That's
Just
all
to move
confirmed
through
as
that
well,
one
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, we know that in 31 we'll have 4 definite
Yes.
games. So
Mhm.
we know that we'll definitely have Watford and Bournemouth, and we'll have Wolves and Bournemouth and Burnley and Watford.
Mhm.
We also know that we'll get one of either Spurs and West Ham or Norwich and Everton.
Yes.
But it could just be them. If all the other Premier League sides win their game, then we could just have 3 games in 31. So 31 could either be a nightmare, a brilliant nightmare, because by the way, I think that would be amazing to just have 3.
Yeah.
It would properly sort out. I mean, if you don't have your free hit, you would be really struggling.
That would be great. That would be great.
But so for the likes of us who've all got our free, I think we've all got our free hits, then that would be brilliant for us because it would give you a massive differential.
Yeah,
Because
for mini leagues,
very
that would be
few-
great.
Absolutely, because very few people own 11 players out of Watford, Burnley, Bournemouth, Watford. Potentially you could add either Spurs or West Ham in there. No, they're not highly owned. Watford and Everton, they're not really highly owned either. So, yeah, it could be brilliant, or but they were equally.
But knowing us lot, we'll get 11 in, and they'll all get 2 or 3 points each.
But those 2 or 3
Then
points is more than the naught, so it'll give you a
Yeah.
green arrow regardless. To be
True.
honest, but I also think we just need to keep a close eye because. So those FA Cup matches fall between game week 28 and 29. So we'll know at the end of game week 28, just before game week 29, we'll know which teams have made it through to the next round of the Cup because there's no replays in that. So we'll know for sure who's through, and then we'll know which fixtures we've not got in 31 and which we have.
Okay, cool. So a possible good time to wildcard then. Okay, is Redmond a good option? So he's at 6.2 at the moment. Kurt, could we persuade you away from Pepe at all to think about Redmond?
Oh, not Pepe, but I've got a few players around the field that I could get rid of if I'm pushed. All right, if I'm pushed.
Okay.
And to be fair, one thing on Redmond is his run against Spurs is a positive thing. As much as like wide players can have all the flicks, can have all the passing, I think when especially as a Wednesday fan, we really in the last 5 or 6 years we've lacked a player that just runs at a team. The way that Redmond picked up the ball, I think it's for their second goal, Ings' goal against Spurs.
Yeah,
and just
it was a great
ran.
run.
When someone gets the ball and just runs, almost like Mikel Antonio. Sounds bad saying Mikel Antonio-esque, but the bloke literally just gets the ball and runs.
Terrible.
But
I can't believe a West
he's
Ham
an
player
amazing player.
was used to like say you can be as good as Mikel Antonio.
well, okay.
Just said he was
Aspired to be.
Quality-wise, not as good as Mikel Antonio, but the minute he gets the ball,
I mean,
he's
if
going to
Pepe
just
started
charge
just
at the
running
defence.
with the ball, oh
Yeah.
God.
Oh,
There
it'd be
you go.
amazing.
But when Mikel Antonio gets the ball, he charges at the defence and it forces things to happen. Whether it's you look at him and sometimes you think he doesn't even know what he's going to do. But because he's running at defenders, he's quick. He's got a little bit of flair and skill about him. He can get past defenders. He can chop back. that's the sort of thing you want from a wide player if they're not going to have that passing game. I think Redmond showed that when he gets the ball at his feet, he's got the skill to keep it glued onto his right foot, and he's got the skill to find the pass, and he's confident enough at the moment to start charging forward against what is, you should say, quite a good team in Spurs. They're one of the better teams in the entire country. So as much as they did lose, it's a positive sign. So I think Nathan Redmond is one to look out for. And the fact that you think, if we would have said this after Southampton lost 9-0 to Leicester, we've all been turfed out the FPL community. They're a different team now.
To be fair,
it's changed them that result.
It has, but I'm still not sure I can fully get behind Redmond at the price he's at. Personally, I'm not.
What is his price at the moment?
6.2. I just think there might be better options at that price.
I think I really like the look of him. The Southampton fixtures are really good. They're on really good form. Like, they've got Burnley, Villa, West Ham, Newcastle, Norwich, Arsenal, Watford. Until they play Man City in 33, they've got a lovely run of fixtures. Here they are on great form. He's playing alongside arguably the informed striker in the league at the moment in Danny Ings. So I just see there being points, and I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't. His form's not that bad. It's not like he's. Where is he? What's he got in the last few weeks? So he got 13 against Palace. He got.
That was 19, was it? Game week 19?
In 24.
24.
In game week 19, he got 8 against Chelsea. So he does tend to be a bit more. If he's going to do something, it tends to be a bit more of a haul. He's not, he's not the consistency of Danny Ings, for example. But I do think that, those fixtures they offer a good opportunity. Let's put it that way.
So you saying to Brett that he should get Redmond instead of Pepe? while selling
1,000%, he should get Redmond over Pepe 1,000,000%.
We should look back on this in like 4 game weeks time, see who scored more.
The thing is, if Pepe's the make way, if he wants to play Martinelli and he doesn't want to drop Laka or Aubameyang, then it's going to be Pepe that makes way.
Good point. Yeah.
He'll come to his senses.
You hope. You hope, Brett.
Mistake.
So, Krista says that Salah captain this game week. This is not a question. Congrats, Wildcats, for all your amazing work, and welcome, Sam. So he's just telling us apparently that we have to captain Salah. So there we go. Okay, on to Tips's question. Another one.
Oh God, what's he going to say?
He has a question for Sam.
Yeah, I thought he might.
What do you think of Sigurdsson or Richarlison as an option? Instead, you would know what this means.
Tips and I have got a bet. It's been running since the Christmas meetup, where he went rogue on me and said he thought Richarlison was a brilliant pick. And I was like, are you taking the mick? Richarlison is not a brilliant pick. He has never been a brilliant pick. He doesn't know how to be a brilliant pick.
He ended up being a brilliant pick.
Well, no, not really. He's not been great, to be honest. So this was since just before Christmas. And at that time, he's done pretty much nothing. And I said, I'm that confident that I think he's terrible that I'll have Siggy. We'll have a bet, and I'll bet you Siggy will be outscoring Richarlison. Not because I think Siggy was going to do anything decent, but because I was that confident Richarlison wouldn't. Now they're pretty much as bad as each other. I think it ends this weekend. You see, this is the last game in terms of FPL. I think in terms of actual football, they're both really good players. But from FPL points of view, they're too expensive. They're not consistent enough, and they don't do anything. So Sigurdsson needs to get something like 8 points this weekend for me to beat Tips. Which, I mean, when was the last time Sigurdsson got an 8 point? Like, he just doesn't anymore. So neither of them are options.
That's it.
I think that
Pepe will play and score.
Yeah, can you imagine this? We're going to enter the Twilight Zone, and Harry's going to have to buy me a mug. We bet on mugs. So if Richarlison beats Sigurdsson, I have to send Harry a Chelsea mug, and he has to send me a Spurs one if Siggy does bit. So
okay.
Let's see.
I like these comments. Siggy versus Richarlison, worst competition ever.
It is the worst competition ever, but it's provided Harry and I with a lot of entertainment over the last sort of 8 weeks or so.
Didn't somebody, like a really big club, put an offer in for Richarlison?
Yeah, 85 million from Barcelona or something, wasn't it?
Crazy, absolutely crazy.
They obviously see FPL points in the Spanish league.
Like, obviously, they've been talking to Harry. But he does have a more serious question for us. He says, what is the ideal front line for those wildcarding at the moment? So, Kurt, if you were to wildcard, who would be the front three you would go with at the moment?
I like the look of things. I like the look of Firmino. And as much as I've never seemed to, Raul Jimenez is one of those players I've never seemed to get in for more than a couple of game weeks or maybe a wild card. But Raul Jimenez, I think, could be a good option as well. There would be the three that I'm looking at. And then you can go, out there, you can go a bit more expensive and go a bit cheaper. But I think those are the main three people should be looking at.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like Jimenez, Ings, and Vardy if you're a patient person. Alba and Aguero if you're a bit risky, and then Firmino if you like a punt. It's probably how I would sum it up. Does anybody disagree with any of those? Jay, you've got Calvert-Lewin, right? Now, I have to put this out there that I had a dream and I thought that Calvert was going to do really well last game week. So maybe I'm just a little bit behind. That does happen sometimes, sometimes
you had my hopes high, and then 3-2, and I'm like, yes, well, Calvert-Lewin must have been involved.
I did the same with Walker, and he did nothing that week, and then the week after he got an assist. So let's just hope it's coming this week.
I need more than an assist. But he's better than Sigurdsson and Richarlison.
You never know. Sigurdsson might assist him twice.
I'll take that.
Possibly. Would you be thinking to sell him on a wild card? Because that would be interesting to know, because he's not really done anything wrong. He's quite cheap, and would you really like turf him out for another?
I'm considering transferring him out without using a wild card. So yes,
interesting.
On a wild card, I probably would, because
fixtures
I'm leaning
turn as well, don't they?
Yeah, fixtures turn, and the strikers we've just talked about answering the first part of this question are the strikers I'm considering. So I'm definitely considering dropping him, because while they have had an upturn in their performance, Everton, I feel like that has also come with a good run of fixtures. So it will be interesting to see how they do. Now it gets a bit more difficult, but I think I'm definitely considering moving away from Everton, because I've got Sidibe as well still, and that was a punt I took because he was getting rather far forward. That doesn't seem to have really paid off as much as I would have liked it to.
Okay. At Ryan9969 asks, is it ideal to make the quick jump to Aguero for this game week as Aubameyang's owner, or should he hold off? Now, I did a bit of research into this. Aguero scored 10 goals and got 4 assists in 16 games against West Ham in all competitions. Nice. At home, he's played West Ham 7 times and got 3 goals and 1 assist. Aubameyang has 1 goal and 2 assists in 4 games against Newcastle. He's only played Newcastle the once at home, though, and got an assist. I would say both of these have a very high ceiling given their fixtures in game week 26, to be honest. I'd love to own both for this game week. Luckily, I have both of my fan teams, so that's doing quite well at the moment. I'm quite happy with that. But I think if you're already on Aubameyang, I think unless you have no other fires to put out, you have a real gut feel for Aguero, or there's a reason why you would go to Aguero from Aubameyang in a mini league perspective, then I would just stick. I'm not really sure why you'd swap this game week. I mean, they're both capable of doing well. Does anybody have any different answers?
Well, I had this dilemma on my wild card because I was very nearly going to go Aubameyang because he was a differential, which I was in need of. And obviously, coming back from suspension and a lot of good fixtures. But because I knew that both Aguero and Aubameyang blank in 28, I kind of already told myself it was going to be a short-term punt on either.
Yeah.
If I was thinking long-term, I would stick with Aubameyang because the fixtures are much better. And obviously, I know they've got the Europa League, but City will be focusing on that Champions League now. Aguero's probably going to get rotated a lot more once that comes back. And like I said, the fixture's just a lot tougher for City now. So after the blank, I mean, Aubameyang's got West Ham at home, Brighton away, Southampton away, Norwich at home. Before the blank, Newcastle at home and Everton at home. I think Aubameyang can outscore Aguero over those 7 or 8 game weeks. But because I knew it was a short-term punt, I went for Aguero for this West Ham game.
Yeah,
because I think he's a strong captain option for me. And from a personal point of view, this season, I haven't had much luck owning players against Newcastle all season.
Fair
really.
enough.
I've targeted that fixture, especially earlier in the season. I've had players against Newcastle, thought, right, Newcastle at home, this is a lovely fixture. And it just never seemed to kind of pay off for me. And even Burnley away, it was Burnley away, Newcastle at home for Aubameyang. And both teams are quite defensively minded. Both teams can frustrate.
Yeah.
And Burnley did that 0-0 against Arsenal, and Newcastle could do that,
Yeah.
So, as if you were going to captain Aguero and you think it's a short-term punt anyway, I'd go for it. I'd go Aguero and captain him maybe, but over the long term, I'd keep Aubameyang.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. We have another question here. I'm just trying to get through everybody because everybody's been so excited that Sam's on tonight. So we've got so many questions. At Said_Arsenelli ask on Instagram, what do you think about captaincy? He says he's between Salah, Aubameyang or Ings. So what do we think? Jay, out of those three?
I mean, my instinct goes for Salah, but who does Ings have?
Oh, I can't remember.
Burnley at home.
Burnley.
His previous club.
Yeah.
I mean, I fancy that as a differential. Burnley are one of those sides that could put in a good defensive performance, though. They're also a side that then can concede goals. It's a bit hit or miss for them, as Pope owners will know. But I think Salah just feels like the right pick for me. And the only thing I would do is the potential of picking the captain straight after the conference where if they're going to play. That would make me lean towards City, but I personally prefer Salah as a captain pick for this week, especially with Norwich.
What about you, Kurt? Are you saying Aubameyang, seeing as, he'll be assisting all those Pepe goals?
Well, he'll assist a couple. I suspect Pepe will get the goal and assist for most of his goals. But no, I mean, I own Pope. So where I say Ings is a decent choice, I am conflicted because I also want Pope to do well. But I do think Arsenal look quite good as well. So I'm not sure really. I'm still up in the air on my own captain. I mean, joking around, taking that out of the equation, I'll try and not mention Pepe's name too much in this. I genuinely don't know who I'm going to captain. Like, it could be Mahrez, it could be Ings, it could be Firmino. It could potentially even be Dele Alli. So, I'm up in the air myself. So I'm not really too sure.
And Sam, what do you think? I know you're going Salah, but would you suggest Salah over, say, an Aubameyang or Ings? Yeah.
Yeah, Ings. Yeah, I certainly see the appeal of Ings, and it's very differential, and it's quite maverick, and it could be brilliant. And we shouldn't. I think we have to remind ourselves that Southampton have had a really tough couple of fixtures in the league, so it's not surprising that he's blanked against the likes of Liverpool. You would kind of expect that. And then obviously they played against Spurs yesterday and he scored and looked great. So I think he will do really well in this game week. I just think that Salah, if Liverpool keep a clean sheet, which I suspect that they will, he'll get an extra point for that, which Ings won't get. I can see Salah hauling in that game particularly if Mane doesn't play, because he seems to haul whenever Mane doesn't play. It's almost like he goes, "Come on, I'm going to set you a press. You've got to catch me again now." In their little race that they have between them. So I don't see Mane starting in that Norwich game. Not with Atletico 3 days later. I don't see it. He might come on for a bit of match fitness, but I don't see him starting. So I can see Salah hauling, whereas I can see him scoring, and I think that's the difference. It's like Salah is probably going to get at least a couple of returns and a clean sheet, probably. Ings is maybe going to get one and no clean sheet because he's a forward and he doesn't get that bonus. So for me, Salah.
Okay, cool. Are there any other questions in the chat before we go over to Jeffer's Corner, Brett?
Sure. Got another question here from... Well, there's two good ones.
Can they be yes/no answers?
Okay, we'll do the
Quick
first one
fire.
because it's a quick fire, and then we'll go on to the second one, which is a really good one for Sam, which I wouldn't mind her answering actually. So the first one's from William De Jager. He wants to know Ings or Jimenez. So he's got Firmino and Vardy as his.
Guy's got 40 likes, so here's your tea.
Hey.
Oh, it's in my
40 likes, guys.
and it's even appeared in the Team Sam mug.
Oh,
I was going to be Team Lee, but I thought you'd be upset.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for all the likes in the chat.
Yeah. Where's my tea, damn it?
80 likes and 80 likes and he goes to Bristol.
It's all right, I'll lend him to you. I'll pop him in the car now. You'll see him in a few hours. With a cold cup of tea.
Flask, woman, flask.
Good job,
Cool.
guys.
Sorry,
Good job.
Brett. Sorry.
It's
Crack
cool.
on.
So we'll do a quick fire. Basically, this William has got Vardy and Firmino as his two forwards. The third forward is either Ings or Jimenez.
Okay.
Kurt, Ings or Jimenez? Gonna need an answer.
Ings. Sorry, I thought I didn't say Ings. Sorry.
Sam?
Ings.
Yeah, it ings for me as well.
Jay?
Ings.
Yeah,
Nim?
I'd probably go Ings as well.
I would say Ings for now as well. Full house for Ings. Yeah. So there you go, William. Probably should go Jimenez now because we all. Good luck with that. Don't blame us. So Paul again, which is Sky Player in FPL on Twitter. Hey Paul. So this is for you, Sam, which I'm really keen. I know you probably get asked this all the time now, but Paul actually found himself in the top 1K last season. I think he finished like 50th or something last year. Had an amazing season.
Amazing.
He wants to know, how are you finding it now being in the top 1K? He found himself overthinking and questioning every move last season. Are you overthinking things? Is it kind of getting to you that you're ranked so well now? Is that affecting your decision making at all?
Not yet. I think actually what I found is that this was kind of like, to be honest, the top 1K was a goal that I never thought I'd get to this season. So actually, I kind of feel a little bit less worried about it now because I feel like I've achieved something which I didn't anticipate. So top 5K has been my kind of goal. So whenever I got close to that, I'd kind of go, oh, and that would panic me and I'd feel stressed about it because it was like the hurdle that I wanted to kind of jump. When I got to 3K on the back of the triple captain double game week, I was like, okay, well, this is uncharted water. So let's just see what happens really. And then last week happened and now I'm a little bit like, well, the golf, it's really interesting because when you look on at the golf between the different brackets and of rank, so there's like 114 points between me and the number one spot.
Nice.
And then you kind of look at that and I think, right, that's unachievable. But then there's 34 points.
No,
well, for now,
put yourself down, woman. I was going to say this in a family chat the other day. No, you can do this.
But for now, I think to look at a hurdle of 114 points feels massive.
Yeah.
Whereas the difference between where I am and the top 100 is 34 points. Now, 34 points feels achievable. Definitely. So I'm kind of taking it, rather than looking at my rank, I'm looking at that. So it's like, well, how do I get 34 points to gain on the people around me?
Yeah.
And what's quite nice about being in the top 10K is there's a lot of stats out there that you can see about who the top 10K own and the percentage of people that own him, which you don't get necessarily if you're further out. It's harder to make those differential picks. So in a way, it's quite nice. But we'll see how I feel come the deadline. I got a feeling that deadlines are going to stress me. I think I'm always, you know me by now. Like I've always had a rule that I don't make transfers on the day. I actually broke it for the double game week, and I bought in Snodgrass on the day.
Wow.
Just because I just panicked and was like, I feel like I need.
And we were both like, what have we done?
Yeah.
He went off injured.
Well, then he goes off injured, and I was like, right, it's just got if he plays in the second, I'm okay because
I'm just happy with 3.
because it's more than Martino would have got me, and he's got Brighton next, and that's a nice fixture, so I'm all right with it. And so when I saw him on the team sheet, I was like, fine. But that was the only time I've done it this season, and it was all right actually in the end. But so I'm hoping to still stay calm because that means like Friday, that's it. Got to make a decision on Fridays, ready for the Saturday, and then just try and enjoy it. But it's come up a bad time, really, hasn't it? Because this game week going over 2 weeks, it's more stress because you've got more time to worry about it, particularly as I'm captaining a player that's going to play in the second week. I'm going to take a hit, aren't I? In reality, there's going to be a lot of captainers that are captaining the likes of Aguero in this first weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a red for this first weekend, and then just hope that it goes green again come the second.
Yeah, cool.
What are you planning to do with Snodgrass now, Sam? Just asking for a friend.
I am going to bench him this weekend. Probably in reality, I might just bench him indefinitely. To be honest, he's cheap. He's not really an issue to me until my wild card, and then I'll get rid of him. Because I feel like
do we not think there's like a possibility with it being City in the way they are at the moment? And he did do well last week.
It would be quite rogue to play Snodgrass against City.
Oh, it's that Pepe levels like that.
Yeah, I think a home game against an out of form away. A team that's out of form away.
I mean,
like
you
Brighton.
Guys managed to do quite well against City.
Yeah, but we were at home, and I just can't see West Ham getting anything out of that City game.
I'm with you. Well, there you go, guys. You've heard it from Sam herself. And Sam, I have managed to win my mini league, being 80 points behind with only 5 weeks left. So I think you can get it. I think you can win this thing for us ladies. I really do. I've been rooting for you for ages now. You know this. So
Lee did promise me. Lee did promise on our last live stream that if I win our Manager of the Month league for February, he's going to buy me a Toby shirt. So that's incentive enough to just keep
There's
going.
Pressure right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's head on over to Jeffers Corner at Austin 6 UK. Everyone knows Jeffers by now. Has asked, who is the person you admire the most who was born in the same month as you? So, Jay, I gotta let him go first at some stage.
I'm disappointed because you've let me go first in a question that's about your birth month, which makes me believe that I don't know off the top of my head everyone's birth month, but I'm presuming I'm not actually competing to get my answer in first. So now you let me go first.
Well, you've been mean to me all stream, so I'm just getting you back.
So yeah, go first. None of us have got the same people as you, but now you can go first. So I had to look this up because I don't just off the top of my head know.
We all
of course.
I wasn't just like, oh yeah, this person.
Yeah.
But I'm born on the same day as Jay-Z.
Oh, nice.
Who was an important part of my teenage years.
Yeah.
Born on the same day as Tyra Banks, who was also an important part of my teenage years. But just beating Kurt Angle, another important part of my teenage years, as I was a wrestling fan, is Sir Alex Ferguson.
Oh, interesting. So
I don't think I need to say why. I believe you know who Sir Alex Ferguson is.
Yeah, I think we get it. Kurt, what about you?
I last saw the chat when I saw it was year, and I didn't look at it until I've heard it now, which is month. So I've not got a Scooby.
I was like, so I'm not sure everyone's going to be. We had guests, so I was like, no, Jeff, maybe you, maybe, and he was like,
oh, there we
instead.
go. I've got quite a decent one. Apparently, I share the same birthday as Mr. Beast.
Oh,
do you?
Yeah,
that's so weird. I was just
who is that?
Yeah, okay, here we go. Who
Another
doesn't know another
teaching
YouTuber?
YouTube. Yeah, I think Mr.
They
Beast
rib me a bit,
revolutionised
Sam, because
YouTube,
I'm not great with knowing. Like, I'm a YouTuber, but I'm. I never have time, to sit and watch YouTube. So they want to do a series where they just teach me about other YouTubers. So, that could be on the card at some point. So he's a YouTuber.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Beast or whatever your name is.
Just quite a small YouTuber, don't worry about it. No one really knows who he is, it's fine. Okay.
I feel like now he's got like millions of followers or something.
Only about 20 of them.
Let's clip this and send it to him. I might get a few. Okay, Brett, what about yourself?
Yeah, just quickly, that's really weird you say that, Kurt, because I was actually watching Mr. Beast on YouTube earlier. Like, I haven't watched him, but he's 21 basically, and he's averaging 1 million subscribers per month now.
Wow,
I think that's
cool.
the most on YouTube. He's getting more than the PewDiePie at the moment and stuff. He's on 29 million. And he's like sort of famous for like his philanthropy, and he just like gives like people like houses and all this money and all. It's mental. It's really worth a watch.
So yeah, we'll definitely clip this just in case.
Yeah,
I might buy you a house, Nim.
Yeah, I'd like that.
You don't know who I am? Here's a house.
One of the videos that made him
Can you
take
get
off.
me a husband too?
He made a video which is 24 hours long, and he literally counts from 1 to 100,000 in one sitting. That was like the video that made him take off.
Wow.
It took him like 27 hours or something. Anyway, so for me, this is really easy. I did a quick Google beforehand, and I knew on my birthday, the 2nd of November, that there was like a celebrity that I liked that was born on the same day as me.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't remember who it was. And then I looked earlier, it's David Schwimmer from Friends.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just like such a big fan of Friends, and I thought like David Schwimmer's a legend. So I just thought, you know, it's just quite a nice coincidence that he's born on the same day as me. So
yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, he's mine all day.
And what about yourself, Sam?
I feel like I've gone a bit rogue here, but so
Pepe.
That would be amazing. Could you imagine?
He's Nicholas Pepe born.
Oh God, could you imagine?
It's Richarlison.
Yes, it's Richarlison. No,
Oh my God,
actually,
29th of May.
to be fair, I do pretty much share a birthday with Wayne Rooney. He's like 3 days younger than me, but that's irrelevant. Yeah, so I'm going with a historical figure who I did know it was her birthday in the same month as mine. Obviously not the same year, because I used to be a history teacher before I did this. So cool. It's Eleanor Roosevelt, who was married to Roosevelt, one of the American prime ministers, but she is particularly brilliant because of all of the stuff that she did with kind of racial equality and women's rights and war refugees, and she was part of the General Assembly, served on the United Nations and stuff. So she is absolutely she's like kind of gold stamp for women's kind of asserting themselves at a time when they didn't. So yeah, she's a bit of a legend.
Yeah. Well, my answer's going to look thoroughly stupid in comparison.
Is it Pepe?
Yes. Well, I'm a July baby, so like I really didn't have a lot of time to kind of dig too far into like historical figures, unfortunately. But some of the people I really like that were born in July, and I have mentioned a few of them here before anyway, you likes of Liv Tyler and Tom Hanks, but Eva Green, J-Lo, you know, I liked a bit of J-Lo in the 90s, so you know, she's pretty cool. Apparently Tom Cruise is a July baby, but I'm not sure about that one. You know, I'm kind of like...
J-Lo in the halftime of the Super Bowl by any chance?
Oh my God, amazing.
Class.
Oh my God.
Class. That was my favourite part.
Good.
I bet it was.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But, yeah, no, they were what I liked about your likes of like Beyonce, Shakira and J-Lo in my teenage years is that they weren't kind of that like stick figure, tiny, you know, pop idol, and I've never been that kind of, you know,
you and me both, you and me both.
I'm a curvy lady, damn it. And I quite like the fact that they were that and they were celebrating as well. So in, you know, maybe not in quite the kind of inspiration like woman power Roosevelt kind of way, but it was nice to be able to watch that on television and feel like it was, you know, that it was okay to be like that. You know, so that's kind of it really. But on that note, I'll say a massive thank you to Sam for joining us. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Sam. Keep it up and good luck.
Yes, we're rooting for you to win. We're rooting for you to win.
Thanks, guys.
And we hope to have you back again soon.
I hope I win.
Come on, Jay, you
it's
can do it.
It's not that funny.
You can do it.
No, you're going to be
only 300k rank places to rise.
You know, I reckon you'll find that if you looked up the points between you and I, it's probably not that much.
I will do that straight after the stream. And then I might cry myself to sleep.
He was moaning about being so far away from me just a couple of months ago, and now he's like, if not, he might have even never taken me.
Yeah, then you took the
point.
captaincy off me.
I had to help that out. He was having a tough time, okay? And I don't know, I might even have to try and help Kurt out at some point as well. And the Cougars are doing fine by themselves. They don't need the captaincy help. They're doing brilliant. We probably should put the captaincy on them because then we'd have more points. But,
we don't need that.
Yeah, we'll just, take for ourselves. But thanks, guys. I will pass over to Jay, who will, again, fill you in on Discord and wrap up.
Yeah, cool. I still don't know how to do polls on this new YouTube streaming website part of it. So yeah, there's no polls, but do make sure to go check out our Discord. Link is in the description. Also make sure to go out and check out FPL Family. All of their links are in the description: Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us on this stream, Sam. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe and that notification bell, and we will keep you updated with the next time we're going live, and catch you guys later.